Why do so many depressed people also suffer from anxiety?
That is something that psychiatrists have been asking themselves for at least 80 years. 80% of the time, anxiety and depression seems to go together. They're called the fraternal twins of mood disorders. It's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Did the depression trigger the anxiety, or did the anxiety trigger the depression? Nobody really knows. They seem to go in 80% of the time hand in hand. So here's the key. If you treat one, you'll help treat the other. So, but many depressed people, especially in my particular case, also have anxiety. And many people who are anxious also feel depression. So they seem to go together. Now, the good news is that in my book, Healing from Depression, 12 Weeks to a Better Mood, and the website, and everything we're talking about in these sessions, the tools, the strategies, the techniques, the medications that help one also help the other.
Okay. And what types of anxiety do most depressed people experience?
There are two types that are most often accompany depression. One is called Generalized Anxiety Disorder, GAD. It's this sort of what we call free-floating anxiety. This is a sense of general dread and nervousness and agitation without a thing to particularly focus it on. The other one is panic disorder, where people have these. Did you ever have panic attack? Oh yeah, okay. Rapid breathing, your heart's going a million miles an hour, you think you're going to die. And then there's other ones that are less common. One is social anxiety disorder, which is really a killer, because if you have social anxiety disorder, other people make you really uncomfortable. And you remember, you have to reach out for support to get healed from depression. So if you're isolating, early trauma is, changes the nervous system. We should do a whole video on trauma.
Yeah, we should.
Okay.
And what can someone do if they have this kind of anxiety?
Okay, well, there are 4 techniques I talk about in my book, Healing from Depression. The first one, of course, that go to, again, with the psychiatric profession, psychopharmacology, is drugs, medications. So they're the short-term medications like, remember, well, you weren't around in the 50s, but Valium in the 50s. The Rolling Stones had a song called Mother's Little Helper. That was the miracle drug of the 50s. They were giving it to bored and anxious housewives thinking that was going to cure them. Because a book came out in the 80s called I'm Dancing as Fast as I Can about what happens when you get addicted to Valium. Then there's Klonopin, there's Xanax. These minor tranquilizers are very helpful for the short term, especially taking the edge of off of a panic disorder, but they don't really work over the long term. You have to basically combine them with antidepressants and other things. So that's the first thing. The other thing is relaxation techniques. When I got up in the morning and I was agitated, I have this whole chapter in my book called Swimming for My Life. I would have somebody drive me down to the pool, and I would swim and swim and swim and swim 1 mile, 2 miles, 3 miles until I just dropped from exhaustion. Why is that? Because when all the muscles of the body are relaxed, you can't be anxious. This is why progressive muscle relaxation, massage, hot tubs are all helpful. Now, what does intense exercise also do? It burns off the chemicals, the agitating chemicals in the brain, the cortisol, the norepinephrine, the things that put you in a fight or flight mechanism. Those basically, help you to relax. When those chemicals are burned off, your sympathetic nervous system is no longer going out of control. You're not trying to escape from the saber-toothed tiger, right? You're calmed down, and the parasympathetic nervous system, the relaxation part of you, comes into being. I mean, whenever you work out, don't you feel nice and relaxed after a hard workout or after a hard bike ride? When I've gone 20, 30 miles and climbed some hills, I just feel really mellow at the end. Right. So I tell my clients, use the drugs if you have to, but intense exercise is the best way to deal with anxiety. Now there's also diet and nutrition, right? We talked about sleep earlier and how you should stay away from stimulants like caffeine. Same thing with anxiety, right? I had to give up coffee during my agitated depression. Also, certain foods with B vitamins like whole grains and leafy green vegetables, maybe even taking a B vitamin supplement. So making sure you're eating right. And the fourth thing is what they call cognitive behavioral therapy, which means when you get an anxiety attack, if you say, oh my God, I'm getting anxious, this will never end, you just ramp up the anxiety, as opposed to, this isn't going to kill me. It comes and goes. I've had this before. I'm going to get through it. You give yourself calming, soothing messages. And what else is there? There's also OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder for sure, because I think trauma is at the root of many, many depressive disorders, anxiety disorders, mental illness in general, and even addiction. That will help the anxiety dissipate more quickly than if you start to catastrophize about it. And we are going to do a video really quickly about worry, because that is really one thing that can get people in big trouble.
Right.